everyone, hello and welcome to the orientation program of Smart India Hackathon. Let me introduce first, this is Nikita Kodipaka, Secretary Knowledge Cup, Technology Students Gymkhana. This evening we are having with us Mr. Krishnam Kapoor. Hello, Krishnam. We are glad to
Hey
have you
Nikita.
here.
Yeah.
In the Smart India Hackathon 2020, Krishnam's team, won in the problem statement proposed by the Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs, focusing on software-based disaster management solutions for smart cities. So, we would like to hear from Krishnam, his experiences and insights upon the Smart India Hackathon in the session. And yeah, you can go ahead, Krishnam. Thank you.
Yeah. So thanks a lot, Nikita, for inviting me, first of all.
Yeah.
And so right before I jump to the hackathon, so let's talk about how are you guys? I mean, are you guys in campus or are you doing this virtually? I mean, you're going to be doing the hackathon virtually.
Actually, the hackathon will be virtual.
Okay.
Like all the
But
students are on campus, at least the first years. So
okay. So they are in campus, right? The first years are in campus now.
first years are not in campus from the
Okay,
second
they're
year.
not in campus. The
Yeah,
second year onwards are in campus. So yeah, that's great. That's great. At least you'll be having the experience to form the teams physically and all that. So yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Cool. So guys, I've made a very small presentation regarding this. I'll just share my screen. Oh yeah. So let me know when you can see it.
Yes, Krishnam, it's visible.
Is it visible? Is it visible now in the presentation mode?
Like still it can be magnified into presentation mode. Like the side is also visible. Note side is also visible.
Okay. So I think this is the wrong screen. Wait. So a better thing to do is I'll share my entire screen and yeah.
Yeah.
Is this visible? Is it visible in the presentation mode now?
It's visible in the presentation mode.
Cool, cool. All right, so guys, I'm here to talk about Smart in the Hackathon. So as Nikita pointed out, so we were one of the teams who won the hackathon last year. So I'll just share my journey and tell you about how the hackathon is held, what are the nuances to the problem statements and all of that. So Smart in the Hackathon is basically, I think it's India's largest hackathon, or they claim to be, and it's organized by the government. So that's the big part. I mean, it's recognizable everywhere. So that's one of the good things about this competition. So let's straight jump into what is it. So Smart in the Hackathon has two parts. By one. So let's go over the problem statement selection. So the first thing that you need to decide is what part of the hackathon you're more comfortable with. So one is the software edition and one is the hardware edition. So again, you might as well have guessed software edition has all the software PSs and hardware edition is more concerned with making some hardware type solutions. So yeah, and I think you can participate in only one of both. I don't think you can participate in multiple at the same time. Again, you'll have to check the guidelines this year. At least in our year, it was either one of both. So yeah, that's one. The second thing is that variety in domains, or I would say problem statements. So this is that Smart India Hackathon is unique in a sense that it does not have a single problem statement. So what happens is that they give you a bunch of problem statements. I think around 300 to 400 problem statements from different domains, different kinds of problem statements, and then you need to kind of think that what problem statement suits you or your team the best, and then you need to solve for that. So although there's a catch in the selection and all of this, I'll come to that here in the next point. But yeah, so problem statements can vary from pure machine learning problems like, let's say, object detection, or I mean, what we built is disaster management system for smart cities was purely was a purely vision problem to detect floods, forest fires, or urban city riots, and or even you could even generalize it for let's say COVID protocols and all of that. That was a vision problem. But you could very well have problem statements like something like pricing of cotton, or some business kind of problem statements. For example, if you need to like of some pure software problem statements as well. For example, if you need to make an app for migrants and all of that. So that kind of variety that you get in this hackathon. And so they released close to 300 to 400 problem statements. But what happened in our time was that they basically asked each team which were to participate to nominate 5 problem statements, and then once they had the nominations from all the teams, they cut down on some problem statements. For example, I think they only kept the top 100 or the top 150, and they closed the other problem statements out. So that was one thing. But I think this year the rules have been changed a bit, and I think this year your Spock is your campus officer who is responsible for conduction of the internal hackathon, or represent Kharagpur in general. So I think he's going to be deciding which problem statements the Kharagpur teams are going to be competing for. So that's a change this year. So you could nominate the problem statements and then you could convey to him, and he needs to shortlist. And I have no clue about what criteria or how many can he shortlist. How is going to be the shortlisting of PSs. So yeah, you can find the PSs on the website, but not all of them will be valid for the final competition. So one thing is careful PS selection. That's very important. And so yeah, that's pretty much on the problem statement end of things. So now let's come to the team formation part. So in my time, the team size was 5 to 6. And yeah, so there was this one unique catch during my time was that you could not have a single gender team. I mean, you should have at least one member of the opposite gender. So basically, if you are a team of 5 boys, you need a girl, and if you are a team of 5 girls, you need a boy. So that was done to, I don't know why, but it was done to, I think, balance out something from the government end and whatever. But yeah, so check out for these restrictions, because a couple of teams were eliminated because of this silly rule as well. So yeah, so team formation, you need to keep in mind the team size and if there are gender restrictions and all of that stuff as well. So yeah, so that's regarding the PS and the team formation.
Excuse me, Krishnam.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt you, but you said that the problem statements will be chosen for the IIT Kharagpur students. There will be a limited number of problem statements. But actually nothing like that was mentioned in the doc that was shared with us. So our team has already registered with a problem statement. So what should we do in that case?
No, so you need to check with Gymkhana. I'm not saying the problem statements will be chosen arbitrarily. I mean, obviously your campus POC will choose the problem statements which you guys want to compete in. I mean, he cannot decide it on his own, right? So earlier SIS used to do a central poll for this. I mean, they just asked everyone for their preference and then they, let's say, kept the top 100. And this time around, I think they must have asked you for some kind of reference, right? That what problem statements are you willing to compete in or something like that?
Actually, a registration form was shared in that the problem statement number was asked. So we chose a problem statement from the official list, which was on the government website. So we chose the problem statement and we had filled in the form.
Yeah, so regarding the specific queries regarding the registrations, we'll take them, you can reach us out, the Gymkhana members, that is fine. We'll take the queries, those queries in the end. Generally, Krishna was giving an idea about the problem statements. Yeah, so you can reach me out. No problem in that. Okay, we'll take care of the registration.
Okay, cool. No worries.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, don't worry about it. I mean, it's a small trivial detail. If you want to revisit, I'm sure Gymkhana guys would help you out. And yeah, but yeah, basically the idea that I was trying to float is that the problem statements do get trimmed. I mean, not every PS that you see on the website makes it to the final competition. So yeah, just in that sense, I wanted to clear this out. All right, so let's come to the timeline now. So again, I've discussed the first point extensively about the registration and the PS selection. Then the second point is again your Spock shortlists the final problem statements. That point is again between you and the Gymkhana. I mean, whatever comfortably works out for everyone, you could shortlist those problem statements. This is an internal Kharagpur matter. I mean, we can have our say in whatever we want to shortlist. So that. Now comes the third point, which is important, which is the internal hackathon. So see, what happens is that I'm not sure if you know this rule or not, but it's not like you need to be the top 100 teams throughout India to participate on something. It's a per college representation kind of a thing. So in that, what happens is that Kharagpur can only set 10 teams, and that too 5 from software and 5 from hardware, to participate officially in the hackathon. And you need to be officially nominated by a college if you want to participate in the national level hackathon. So what happens is that Kharagpur conducts an internal hackathon every year, and that internal hackathon usually, from my year, it had 60 to 70 software teams and 20-25 hardware teams, I think. So yeah, and based on that, you're basically given a go ahead for the national round. So some specifics about the internal hackathon. So internal hackathon, in my opinion, is harder than the national hackathon. I mean, because it's like 70 Kharagpur teams, and every team puts in a lot of effort. So it's hard as compared to the national hackathon, where you have teams from all over the nation, and you have some kind of competitive advantage over the other colleges. So in that sense, if you can honestly get past the internal hackathon, I don't think so national hackathon will be hard for you guys. So internal hackathon is the main thing that you need to crack. So even for the internal hackathon, it's usually a 10+5 kind of a thing. You get 10 minutes of the presentation, then 5 minutes or 10 minutes is your grilling session after that. So campus will perhaps give you 10, 15 or 20 days for working on your PSs, and then you can present them the solutions. So some points for the internal hackathon are key. Professors will grill you a lot in the internal hackathon, because the problem with the internal hackathon is that you need so for example, as one of the guys mentioned, that they have selected a problem statement. So now every team will select a different problem statement, and you're going to be presenting that to let's say a group of 7 or 8 professors. Now they need to decide the top 5. The problem for them is that they don't have a common metric to measure, because each of you guys are solving a different problem, right? I mean, some of you might be solving, let's say, problems for migrants versus someone is doing a pure ML based implementation. So professor needs to weigh ki kisne kitna effort dala, or what is a good solution for a problem, and the problems are not same. So that part makes the internal hackathon extremely tough, challenging, or you say even hard to decide, even for the professors. So that's something that you guys need to keep in mind. That I'm not sure how it's going to be organized this year, but I can at least tell you for my year, it was very hard to decide even for the professors. And I know that because I talked to one of them after the hackathon, and he told us basically that they were confused between 6 or 7 teams about whom to nominate to the top 5. And that will perhaps be the case this year as well, because the PSs are not the same for which they are judging. So in that sense, now if I connect back to my point regarding the PS selection, so you need to be careful about the PS selection in the sense that, for example, I will give an example of my team. We had 2 PSs in our mind. One was pricing of cotton according to seasonal demand. That was one PS. And the other was this disaster management system for smart cities. Now, the thing we asked ourselves is that, is the pricing of cotton for seasonal demand sounds as enticing or as impactful as the other one? And that's where perhaps we favored the smart cities PS over this PS, because we thought we can convince people better that, hey, this is impactful solution as compared to the pricing of cotton. So yeah, that is purely my thought. Again, I'm not saying any PS is bad or good, but this PS optimization is with respect to the internal hackathon, because that's the harder part to get passed through. So yeah, just wanted to let you guys know about what I thought during my time. So yeah, that's about the internal hackathon. So yeah, after the internal hackathon, you basically have 5 teams for each category, 5 for hardware, 5 for software, and they usually keep 2 or 3 teams in the waitlist as well. The waitlist is that if some team is not able to complete their registration in time or backs out due to whatever reason, so they give the waitlist team a chance. That rarely happens. I mean, I don't think so teams back out. So yeah, but yeah, there is a wait list. And yeah, so after this, you will probably have a 3 to 4 month window. In our case, it was more than 6 months because of COVID, but normally it's 3 to 4 months after that. And then you have the National Hackathon. So National Hackathon is usually a 3-day event. The first 2 days are your coding days or your solution making days. So you get 48 hours for like coding up all of your things. So here the catch is again that you already know the PS beforehand. So if ideally in an ideal universe, you should already have coded the solution, and you just need to kind of pretend to code and commit during those 48 hours. You could very well have thought out everything during those 48 hours. So what's actually important during that time is the feedback that you get from the judges. So it's not a final presentation that happens on the 3rd day. You get regular feedback every day. So every day there will be a 10-minute PPT session with the judges, and they will ask you to present your solution, and then they will give their feedback to you. And what's important in that time is that you incorporate that feedback. I mean, ideally, if I'm going to recommend, you should make your solution beforehand and only work on incorporating the feedback during those 48 hours. And yeah, so it's usually like for the software edition. So we were given a GitHub repo, and we were told that, hey, this is the last time till which you can commit your code, and you cannot touch the repo after that. So that's the 48-hour deadline. So we were given the repo morning of the first day, and it was closed, let's say, the night of the second day. So that's how it went. And then the 3rd day is again your presentations, to question answers, and then I think there's an evening ceremony for the results, and the results are announced. And yeah, Yeah, and regarding the presentation and the demo, so I will personally recommend that even for the internal hackathon, if possible, go with the live demo, because it's just a bit more impactful as compared to just showing them the, hey, you will do this. So ideal in internal hackathon is usually just an idea pitch, and not exactly, you don't actually need to make the solution about as per SIS guidelines, but most people in Kharagpur end up making the entire product. So yeah. And for the 48-hour national hackathon, they do expect that you come up with an app or a dashboard or something of that sort, which has a UI for the software edition again. So I'm actually not the right person for the hardware edition. So you need to talk to someone who has gone to the national round for the hardware, that what is the expectation there. So I am mostly talking about software, but I'm sure that hardware would have similar expectation, that you show them a working prototype, because yeah, so you cannot just show them an idea or, hey, this is how you will solve it. You actually have to build it out and show it to them. So yeah, so this is pretty much how SIH is conducted every year. I'm not sure if it's going to be the same this year, but I'm sure it'll be around what I've described broadly. So yeah, yeah, we can have questions if you guys have any questions.
Yeah,
Hi, Krishna.
Hi.
I had a doubt about it. Exactly
Okay.
what is the funda about the reserving wait list? Can you please repeat it once again?
Yeah. So see, basically there are two editions, right? You nominate 5 teams for every edition. So now, due to some circumstances, for example, some member of a team backs out or something like that happens, so there's a reserve wait list for 3 or 4 teams. Then if that happens, then one of those teams will get an opportunity to replace the team who has backed out, or yeah, something like that. But again, I'm pointing it out that it rarely happens. I mean, you can't really back. Basically place your bets on the wait list. It really happens. You can't really, depend on that.
Thank you, Krishna. I had one more question. Exactly what is the procedure for selecting the problem statements? The Spock chooses the problem statement depending upon our preferences, right?
Yes, yeah, ideally, yes. Ideally, it has to be done that way. Again, this is a question which is, which is going to be decided by the managing committee, which is basically the Gymkhana this time. For our case, what happened is that Spock did not have the what should I say? Did not have the right to choose a problem statement. It was SIH key internal management itself, and they conducted a poll, and then they chose the problem statements according to that poll. But this time around, since the authority is being given to Spox, so yeah, I think that is how it's going to be happening. That they'll take the preferences from you, and then they will choose the problem statement based on that.
So basically, until and unless the problem statement has been confirmed, you cannot start working on the solution, right? Like if you pitch a problem statement and it hasn't been selected by the Spock, what to do then? Like if you have pitched the problem statement, you have prepared the solution in your mind, you have made the roadmap, and then the problem statement isn't selected. So what should we do?
So yeah, in that case, I think it's better to have, yes, it's better to have a couple of problem statements in mind. I mean, so like for us, I was telling you, for both of them, and then we went ahead and chose the other one. But yeah, but I think, see, it's not going to be that rigid. I mean, it cannot be that Spock only chooses 1 or 2 problem statements. I'm sure they will select a range of them, and I hope that everyone's problem statement is accommodated, at least some preference is accommodated. So ideally, again, this is something that I cannot comment. Gymkhana will decide that, but ideally they could take preferences from you, like 1, 2, 3, and then based on those preferences they can select, let's say, whatever problem statement they want to select. So based on their preferences. So yeah, if they have taken a single preference, then they might as well select every problem statement that you guys have nominated, or they could again perhaps take the preferences later on. So again, I think that is Gymkhana will decide that, so don't worry about that. Whatever problem statement you have nominated, you can start working on that, and I'm very sure that they'll accommodate it one way or the other. I mean, what I'm telling you is that it's not only the SIS top 5 or top 6 problem statements go. There are a lot of them, 100 to 150. So don't worry that one of your preferences will definitely be there.
Thanks, Krishna. Can you please once again tell me what is exactly SIS? Is it the committee organizing the Smart India Hackathon?
SIH is, yeah, Smart India Hackathon. You can say SIH committee. Yeah, it's the Smart India Hackathon committee. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much, Krishna.
Yeah,
No worries.
thank you, Yash. And we'll take two questions in the chat box. Venkatesh is asking, the PS for 48-hour national hackathon, is it the same as that for an internal hackathon?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so it's the same, Venkatesh. And Soham, like he's asking, do you know anyone who has qualified for the nationals of the hardware edition?
Yeah, so there was this friend. I have a friend called Rishabh. He qualified. I'm not sure if he qualified for the hardware edition, but they had a pretty good solution, and I think they qualified for the hardware edition. I'll just a minute. I'll check it out and I'll send you the profile.
Can you mention his full name?
Yeah, yeah. I'm actually just checking out his profile.
Okay.
You can continue with the questions if you have any. I'll just post it on the chat channel. Yeah.
Okay, so we'll move to the next question. Aritra is asking, since more than 5 teams will definitely come up with a fully working solution, how will our professors decide on which teams to choose? Like, what is the criteria in their mind?
Yeah. So see, if I talk about what professors drill on, so it's usually how innovative your solution is. Is it even feasible? I mean, you can't really pitch them that you will do this or you will deploy it for 1 billion people. So feasibility is one of the biggest criteria. I mean, trust me, professors really look to solutions which are feasible to actually deploy in real life. That's one. Innovation is definitely another thing. Third is obviously how well you present it. See, it's again impressing the professors that hey, your solution is actually good. So it's very important to present it well. You show a live working prototype and you tell them, hey, this is how the final product is going to look like. So that's broadly the criteria that is usually I mean used by the professors. But again, exactly how the marketing is going to be conducted is something that Gymkhana will decide. And I think they will let you know about it. I mean, if you break down 100 into points, so what is it going to be? 10% for creativity, 20 for innovation. So that kind of a criteria will again be decided by Gymkhana and they'll communicate to you guys. But just consider it like any other hackathon. I mean, if for any other hackathon, things that they check is feasibility, innovation, then how well have you presented it, how impactful is your solution. So yeah, these kind of things.
Yeah, so like next is I think one of the common questions. What are the prerequisites for participating in the hackathon?
Uh, I mean, if you're talking about what are the prerequisites, and if you are in this college, then you are already eligible to participate in the hackathon. Regarding specific problem statements, is again whatever skill set, whatever matches your skill set the best is basically the problem statement that you should go for. And yeah, I mean, there are no prerequisites as such. I mean, if you're a student, if you are in a national institution, that's all that you need to participate in this hackathon. And you need to have a team, obviously, that's a prerequisite.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
A team with at least one person of opposite gender. That is also okay. So
yeah, that rule again is I'm not sure if it's this year or not. That was
yeah,
in
it
my
is
year.
there this year. It is there
Okay,
this year.
it's there.
At
It's
least
there.
one.
It's there.
Yeah, it's there.
Yeah.
So next question: can we get any certificate after the program?
What certificate? I mean, after the national round, or
I think for participation in the SIH. Do you mean Saikat? Like, what do you mean exactly? Saikat, are you here? Okay.
so
Yes,
I'll
ma'am.
clarify.
Yeah, Saikat is here. Yeah, Saikat. Can you please describe about your question?
Do we get any certificate after internal hackathon?
Yeah, so no. So if you are in the top 5, then you will get a participation. And well, basically, if you go to the national hackathon, then you will get a participation certificate from SIH. But if you participate in the internal hackathon and you're not in the top 5, then you don't get any certificate.
Okay, sir. I got
Okay.
it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if you go to the national round, then they'll definitely give you a participation certificate.
Okay, so next question is, I checked some problem statements. They just consist of a paragraph. So how do we know in which direction to proceed in? How do we break down the paragraph into subparts?
Yeah, so this is a common problem every year. So some of the SIS problem statements are really vague, and I understand and sympathize with that. Even I have encountered it during my time. So the thing is that It's subject to interpretation. Honestly, it's subject to interpretation. There is no one answer or one solution that they're looking for. For example, the smart city problem statement that I am talking about. So the problem statement was basically that, hey, guy, hey dude, you have a smart city, and there can be a disaster in that smart city. So do something to prevent it. That was all. I mean, they didn't even specify what disaster, what kind of disaster, or I mean, what facilities do you have, and all of that. So how we proceeded is basically we asked ourselves, hey, what is a smart city? So smart city is a city which, let's say, have electricity coverage, have CCTV cameras all around the city, which have metros and which have, I mean, internet coverage and all of that. So once we were through with what can a smart city have and what it cannot have, then we proposed that, hey, we are good in vision, so let's have a CCTV camera based solution. And then that we basically checked what can we do. For example, you cannot detect earthquakes from vision. I mean, CCTV coverage. It's very hard unless and until your land is breaking or a building is getting destroyed. It's not possible to detect earthquakes. But you can detect floods. You can detect fires. You can detect riots. So we narrowed the problem statement down ourselves that, hey, we can do this, this, and this. So let's do this. That's how we approach our problem. Even for our case, it was very, very big. So yeah, so I mean, just read the problem, get a feel about what they're trying. So it's like you have XYZ and now do something about it. So then you need to define your own parameters, your own kind of your own PS of what you can, how can you solve some part of the problem. And yeah, but I understand it's weak, and that's gonna be there in SIH. That is why it's very important that you describe your problem statement to the judges or to the internal hackathon panel as well. And guys, yeah, one more point about internal hackathon I just remembered is that please don't waste time explaining them machine learning models or something like that. They are not idiots. So they already know everything, the professors, and you have only 10 minutes. So focus on the problem you are solving and your solution. That's all. Don't tell them how many people are affected every year. I mean, just focus on the magnitude of the problem. You can tell them how many people are affected or all of that. Don't go into what is a neural network, what is a convolutional neural network, or things like that. I mean, please don't try explaining them the tech stack and everything. They already know that. Just focus on your problem and your solution.
Okay. So next question, Ankur, prerequisite knowledge, if any, like, can you describe that more a bit, Ankur? Prerequisite knowledge regarding?
Yeah, I mean any software knowledge or any hardware knowledge, as we are just new to it here.
Yeah. So Ankur, that's actually a bit problem statement specific. So as you pointed out, you're a first year. So in that case, you should select a problem statement, let's say which let's say a software based problem statement which you can, let's say, code up in Python. So something like that. Or a UI based problem statement in which you have to mostly, let's say, make a dashboard for bus tickets, something like that, which you can learn and actually do. So in that sense, you'll have to actually, so if you're a first year and you do feel that you don't know anything, so it's actually good you take up a problem statement, something that you actually want to learn, and just do solve that problem statement. Because once you will be through that problem statement, you will have learned the skill that you wanted to learn. So you can do it that way as well. So for me, we did it in our third years. So in my third year, we kind of had some idea about what we were good at. I mean, I was good at data science stuff. One of my friends was very good at UI. So we kind of formed the team in that way, and we knew what kind of a problem do we want to solve. So I mean, yeah. So we tried to build I mean, AI kind of a solution for disasters and all of that. So we kind of knew that, hey, this is the skill set that we are good at. So let's look for problem statements in this skill set. But for you, you actually have a free hand. Go for any problem statement and just learn that skill. So yeah.
Yeah, that answers Ankur's question. And then Soham is asking, will we receive a smaller list of PS for the hackathon? And by when will we receive that, if at all, considering we need time to prepare?
Yeah, so that's again a logistics question. Nikita, I think you are the more qualified person for that.
Yeah. So right now there is no any smaller list of PS. The deadline is extended to 26th February. So maybe by that time, if at all, like if any smaller list is there, we'll definitely provide you. But as of now, the problem statements which are described in the, I mean, given in the main website, you can consider them. I mean, you can take from them. That's all.
So again, guys, just highlighting, I'm not sure if the PSs are going to be shortlisted this year. I mean, don't stress on this point too much. It might so happen that all of the PSs make it to the final SIH hackathon. I was just describing my experience. So again, things could change this year.
Yeah. Like next, can we communicate with the respective company to seek more information and data sets?
I'm not sure, and I don't think so. It's a good idea to mail them directly. First of all, they won't reply to you. Yeah, so that's one. And the second is, I'm not sure if it's within the competition rules. So if you're gonna, if SIH specifically provides your contact detail in the problem statement, it may be fine to mail them. Otherwise, mail to SIH regarding for your queries. Because if you will mail to the company directly, if they have already appointed a point of contact, then it is fine. Yeah, then you can mail them. But if not, then there is no point mailing to them directly.
Yeah. So next, Aritra, is I have a dumb question. Okay, are second or third or fourth year students given more preference in internal selection as compared to freshers?
Nice. It's not about preference. It's about how good is your solution. So by virtue of being in the third or a fourth year, if you have more knowledge and you come up with a better solution, then of course you will win the internal hackathon. And it's not because you're in a third year; it's because the solution is better. But it's not like that if a first year does something really good, then the professors will not take him because he's a first year. That kind of a differentiation is not there. And another thing is that you can form teams inter-year. You know that, right? I mean, it's not that first years will form teams with only first years. You can very well take a fourth year with you. I mean, yeah.
Okay, that's great. So I did not see any more questions in the chat box. Still, any one of you you're having any queries regarding the teams or PS or any sort of things regarding SIH, can please put forward. Okay, there is one more question. What is the minimum number of members required in a team? Yes, it's 6 members. Mandatorily, you should have 6 members in the team, with at least one girl in the team. Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah. Who is this?
Yeah. So I'm Jay Sai. So
Yeah.
Krishna, I wanted to ask about this. The final during the final hackathon round. So basically, we'll be given 2 days, right? So you said, as you mentioned, but
Yeah.
before only we would have entirely built up the solution, right?
Yes.
By the time we reach the final round, we already know what exactly to do. So, but so in the due time, you mentioned that we need to incorporate some feedbacks given by the judges and everything. Can you give a little more specifics about that?
Yeah. So basically, I'm not saying that you need to build the solution beforehand. I mean, ideally you should not. I mean, according to SI, you should do the solution within those 48 hours. But since you already know everything, I mean, no one's just stopping you from building the solution and then committing the code later on. That's one thing. Cool. So regarding the feedback, so what happens is that let's say after the first day, let's say 7 or like 6 or 7 in the afternoon, you will have a small feedback round with the judges. So you will pitch them that, hey, what are, so they all, so see again, the national hackathon is problem statement wise. I mean, it's not that you will be competing with different problem statements. So your problem statement will have 10 or 12 nominated teams, and the judges will be only for your problem statement, unlike the internal hackathon. So in that, the judges already know the problem statement. They will see your solution and they will kind of comment that, hey, your solution misses this part or hasn't captured this part of the problem statement or something like that. So there could be that kind of feedback, or there could be or they could just like it and then not say anything. So anything can happen. So in that sense, if you're given a specific feedback that, hey, you need to incorporate this part, so you can incorporate that part during our time. So for example, for us, we were given the feedback that, hey, there is no option to call police in your dashboard. So that was one thing that we could work on. So we added an option to call police in our dashboard. And the other feedback is that they were not sure if our trained model would work. So we had a part in which you could detect social distancing by like neural network methods. So they were not sure if it would work for heavily crowded areas. So the next day, for the next feedback round, we actually showed them a video where it worked in heavily crowded areas. So in that sense, they could give you a feedback, or they could ask you to validate a solution to them using something. Yeah. And why I'm saying to build the solution beforehand is because you already know what needs to be done and you have time. So I mean, instead of building it in those 48 hours, it's better to work on feedback in those 48 hours.
Okay. So like next question, how to get data sets for PS? Do they provide them? Sandeep, whom do you refer by using they? Do they provide them?
I think he's referring to SIH.
Achha.
Yes.
Yes, yeah. So so for some problem statements, I think you would have data sets, and for some other problem statements, you're free to use any open source data sets. For example, in our case, we used and we trained our models on open source data sets. So yeah.
Okay. So next question is, if some problem statement involves knowledge of what kind of data is required in a government procedure or what authorities are concerned at different levels of solution, how can we get those info?
So I think problem statement will not be this vague that they basically don't tell you what they are facing. They will definitely tell you what they are looking to solve. And mostly it's open source. I mean, there are very few problem statements that actually come with data. Hardware kind of problem statements might have some data. I mean, so for example, robotic problem statements have some amount of data given to them for let's say for your simulations and all of that. But for software kind of problem statements, they usually tell you to train your models on open source, or yeah. So it's mostly open source is what I have seen.
Okay.
Yeah. So Nikita, I've also sent you the profile link for Rishabh, whom I was referring to for hardware. You just posted on the chat.
Yeah, I'll post it on the chat. Yeah, sure, Krishna. And Vaishnavi is asking, when was the final national hackathon? So, Vaishnavi, you need the dates of the hackathon this year. I mean,
no, the month. Like idea about the month.
Acha, so right now, it's not like very rigid ki these dates. I mean, it might be in the month of March because internal hackathon is still going on and the registrations are up to the end of this month. So this month we'll be only having the registrations. So after that, you can like time will be given to work upon the problem statement. Yeah.
Okay, and about the 48 hours hackathon, when will that be?
Again, the dates are not out yet, so we'll have to look for the information.
You can check on their website. Usually, they post this kind of a thing on their website. Expected that it will be around 2 to 3 months after your internal hackathon's result is finalized.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm checking. Yeah, they don't have the dates on the website right now, but that will be updated on the website. I mean, SIH ki organizing committee is good. I mean, it's not like other government initiatives in which nothing gets done. Here, they're really good in that sense. So, and just to let you guys know, I mean, winning SIH money is one thing that you get, and the other thing is that you get the chance to participate in Asian hackathons and then American hackathons. I mean, there are some hackathons which are inter-country level in which you need to be nominated by the Ministry of Education. So they actually have, instead of having separate hackathons for nomination of those kind of teams, they actually do it via SIH these days. So we had a chance to compete in a Pan-Asia hackathon. We didn't go there. That's a different story. But yeah, that kind of opportunity is also there if you win SIH. So.
That seems great, actually.
Yeah.
So can we use already trained open source models? And
Yeah. Definitely. Yes, we did that. I mean, you are free to use anything. I mean, see, hackathon, it's not about building something from the scratch. It's mostly about putting things together to make a utility. So yeah.
Okay, that's great. And yeah, that's all. I think we're done with the questions. Still, any sort of questions regarding the hackathon or any general questions? Okay, so if at all any queries, you can like reply to the mail which you receive regarding the Smart India Hackathon. We'll always reply. And if at all any questions for Krishnam, you can just put them up.
Yeah. Or I'm also reachable on Messenger. You can text me.
Hello, I have one question.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
Basically, I wanted to know, in case of hardware products, like, do we get any support for building that prototype?
Yeah, so you do need to check with Gymkhana, but I think I'm not sure Rishabh is the right person to ask this to, but I think, so you have these Idea Lab and the Tinker Lab in Gymkhana, right, Nikita? So I think these guys do give you parts and all if you request them to. So for hardware.
Now, yeah, the lab facilities are there in Gymkhana, and like past 1 year, it was not very active. So we need to talk about this regarding the hardware things. I will get back to you regarding hardware stuff. Yeah. So I've like put the Krishnam's LinkedIn link on chat. You can go and check it. So one more.
It's Rishabh's LinkedIn link.
Sorry, Rishabh. Sorry.
Rishabh. Yeah, the hardware.
For the hardware part. And one more question on the chat. The PS for internal selection is also selected by us, right? And that is
Yes.
same that we present at national level.
Yes, it will be the same. I mean, the internal PS that you select based on whatever SIH has listed on its website, that those same PSs will be carried to the national level.
Huh. Okay, that answers Sandeep's question. And still any sort of questions?
I want to ask the final 48 hours hackathon. Was last year it happened online or offline?
Yeah, so for my case, since I was in the 2020 edition, so it happened in 2021 and it was online because it was again the Corona edition, I mean Corona period. And yeah, so for our case, they basically had video proctoring on all the time. I don't know for what reason. It was kind of stupid, but yeah, they basically made us sit in front of our laptops to give us the feel that it's being done offline. So yeah, and it was, yeah, so it was it was a bit hard to communicate with the teammates and everything, but yeah, but hopefully this time it will be offline. I mean, I'm sure COVID will not be that severe till the time the hackathon comes around. So does that answer your question, Tanmay?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so if that is it, you can anytime reach us out regarding the hackathon or any sort of submission queries or PS or